All right, 1 second here. All right, welcome everyone. Holding by Pirke Avos, ethics for our fathers. Again, want to welcome everyone. Holding by Pirke Avos, ethics for our fathers. We are in chapter Mishna 13. This is part 28. I don't know if we're going to finish tonight. We'll see. See how far we get. Again, want to welcome everyone. Holding by Pirke Avos, ethics for our fathers. Chapter 2, Mishna 13, part 28. And the Mishnah said, he said to them, go out, discern what's the proper way, which a man should cling. Person should cling. Rabbi Elazar says a good eye. Rabbi Shua says a good friend. Rabbi Yossi says a good neighbor. Rabbi Shimon says one who considers the outcome of a deed. And Rabbi Elazar says a good heart. Right, and that's where what we've been discussing. About this idea of having a good heart and how, basically we spoke last week about the heart. Controls the body. The heart is the seat of, desire. There's always a disconnect between the brain, and the heart, meaning that the brain usually, I shouldn't say usually, but, will know potentially what the right thing to do is. The heart will want to do it at once. Yeah, the heart will want to go after, desire. Yeah, so here, says Mori Rebbe, Arav going to Mishna Machshlita should be well. And he says that someone has a good heart, worries about their friends and the struggles and difficulties they go through. Doesn't that mean they can always help, say financially or otherwise. But they feel so strongly as if they themselves struggle with the same issue. They take it to heart. Yeah, this is what it means to take the yoke of his friends, take on the yoke of his friends, to feel what he feels, be there for them, alleviate the pain that they feel. So first thing over here is that a person wants to have a good heart, like Rebbe Elazar says, then you need to worry about others. You need to know what, you need to worry what they go through. Their struggles, their difficulties. Now, it doesn't mean we always have a solution. Doesn't mean, let's say a person's in, dire straits financially. Does not mean they can help them out, right? People can help out others, even with a good word, even giving them strength, right? Moshe Schneider, my Rebbe of blessed memory, set up a program called the Avodas HaKodesh in his yeshiva in London. Avodas HaKodesh means the what do you call it? The holy work, so to speak. And what was that? Older students twice a week for an hour would learn with younger students, if they had any questions, what they were learning, they would help them out because they're not making money, right? They're learning, they're learning all day. They don't have money of their own. They can't give charity. Yeah. So we're not obligated to give charity. Yeah, but they don't have money. So what do? So what did Moshe Schneider set up? He set up a program where they can help others, giving of themselves. No money involved. Helping others, understand the text, understand the commentaries. If, younger students have questions, they would help them out. Yeah. So people think sometimes if a person struggles, again, we'll say we use finances as a good example that, not everyone's wealthy. Not everyone has the ability, to help others in that sense. So they say, well, there's nothing I can do. There's nothing in physical terms. There's nothing, in physical terms they can do. So they say, why bother? Okay, they'll listen to them. But maybe they feel bad. They can't do anything. But sometimes, even if a person can't do anything, they give them chizuk, they give them strength. They can, they can worry about their friend. They can speak to them. They can, potentially help them in other ways, so to speak. Giving them strength. So what that means, a good heart means over here is, as my Rebbe says, you worry about what your friend goes through. You worry about their struggle. Right? And the difficulties. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean you can help. It may feel helpless in many ways. Then, a person's sick, they're in pain, they can't move, whatever the case is. There's really nothing you can do. You can alleviate the pain. But, a good friend, we mentioned before, is someone who's there. Someone can help in some way. They can't take away the pain. Right? But the most important thing over here is that they take on the yoke over here. They take on the yoke of their friend. They feel like they're in their shoes. To feel what they feel. And be there for them, trying to alleviate the pain, whether it's physical or not. The person always has to remember, can never judge anybody unless we've been in their shoes. If someone does something, causes us damage, they're going to be guilty. Regardless of what they did in general, they'll be guilty. But we're very quick to judge. The drop of a hat, we're ready to condemn someone. Right? So there's a general question. There's a general question whether a person has an obligation, or when do they have an obligation to judge someone favorably. There's someone who keeps Torah mitzvahs, they're in a compromising position. Yeah, they keep Torah mitzvahs, they work hard to do the right thing. So it's an obligation, even if they're in a situation where it looks really bad. Right, it looks really bad, very hard to judge them favorably. Nonetheless, there's an obligation to judge them favorably. Now, if it's somebody who doesn't keep Torah mitzvahs, right? Somebody that's, does a great Shabbos. Someone who scoffs at mitzvahs, make fun, or whatever. And they're caught in a compromising position. In such a case, I'm obligated to judge them not favorably. You're going to say, why? Why should I judge them favorably? Because they don't keep Torah mitzvahs. If they don't keep Torah mitzvahs, I can assume they're in this bad situation. My assumption is they're guilty. I have an obligation, to jump through hoops to try and show why they're not guilty or why they don't look so bad in the situation. Who says? They do all kinds of other things wrong. Yeah, so why do I judge them favorably? Well, someone who's keeping Torah mitzvahs, or they're working hard to keep Torah mitzvahs, they're in a compromising situation. Mitzvah, obligation to judge them favorably. Obligation. Right? Why? Because most of the time they're doing the right thing. And there could be extenuating circumstances. We don't know. We have no idea. So it's an obligation to judge them favorably. It looks really bad. Okay. Well, at the end of the day, my obligation is, I have a mitzvah to judge them favorably. They're going to say, well, it's not so easy. They look pretty guilty over here. Okay. Maybe they do. But if the majority of the time they're going in the right direction or trying to go in the right direction, then we can assume there are other things going on. But the problem is, and this happens all the time, unfortunately, and that is that we are very quick to judge. Very quick to judge without looking at the facts. That's wrong. You gotta know the facts. You have to know the facts. But not only knowing the facts, depending what the person's been through, who are we to say anything? Right? The Torah says what's right and wrong. I get this a lot. People say, oh, you think this, you think that. I don't think anything. Whatever the Torah tells me, whatever the rabbis tell me. Yeah, whatever the rabbis say, that's the way it is. Right? My rabbi would say, you don't like it, you go eat kogel. Right? Whatever the rabbis tell us to do. We're obligated. Deuteronomy chapter 11. Obligated to listen to them in every generation. And whatever they say, you got to listen to them. You don't listen to them, death penalty. That's pretty severe. We can't think we know better. Whatever. We listen. We go according to the majority. Right? Exodus chapter 23, verse 2. For the good, we go according to the majority. So here, people don't want to do, they want to do what they want. They don't care. They don't want to answer anyone. They'll say, it's in my heart. Doesn't want my heart things. Who cares? Nobody cares what's in their heart. God cares about action. He cares about thoughts. Okay. It's true. God don't care about the thoughts of a person. I'm just giving over on Shabbos. It's entered here that the sacrifice of the Korban Olah, a burnt offering. Yeah, so Mary brings down in the following question. He says, the sacrifice, Rashi says, at the beginning of the parsha, use the word sav. Right? That's, here, let me just quote it. Torah says, beginning of Parshat Psalm, chapter 6, book of Leviticus, says Hashem spoke to Moshe, saying, command Aaron and his sons, saying, this is the law of the burnt offering. Burnt offering stays on the flame on the altar all night in the morning, and the fire of the altar shall be kept aflame on it. That's a burnt offering. Right? So there's a question or a statement that Rashi says, the Rashi asks over here. What does Rashi say? Rashi say this is something that needs alacrity. Right? You need to work quick. You need to be, fastidious over here, so to speak. I don't know if that's the right word. Alacrity is a better word. Right? You gotta be quick over here to do it, to do the commands, even if it's going to cause a financial loss. Even if it's caused a monetary loss. Yeah, so my Rebbe asked a number of questions. First question is that the Kohanim were taken care of by the sacrifice. Right? They ate a lot from the sacrifices. They got skins from the sacrifices, other things. Were they lacking? Right? In other words, the Kohanim, they also made rich. Right? Jews came out of Egypt. It's another thing. Jews came out of Egypt, and everyone had, so many donkeys, so many horses, this, that. Were they lacking? Even for a minimal amount, they're going to lack. Because what's this burnt offering? What's this olah? It gets totally burnt up. If it gets totally burnt up, they get nothing. Right? So really the first question is, if Aaron a Kohen and his sons are on such a high level, they're not going to care. What were they lacking over here? Okay, so one sacrifice they don't get anything from. They want to say, Rebbe says, it's hard to understand. People so great like that, they're gonna think they're missing something. right? They're lacking something, who says, right? They're on such a high level. But not only that, they have a lot of wealth. They came out of Egypt, great wealth. And they've been taken care of. God has been taken care of. So they've been taken care of. What are they missing? What are they missing? They don't seem to be missing anything. Yeah, what could a person think? What could a person think somewhere, very hard to understand by these people, by these great people that, they can think of, but I'm not gaining over here. I'm not benefiting, so to speak. Yeah, you might not be benefiting, but you're not losing either. Or you're losing, maybe an insignificant amount. Right? So my Rebbe says, it brings down a medrash. And it brings down a medrash, and he asks the following question. When a person brought a korban olah, and they brought a sacrifice that was totally burnt, what did that atone for? What did that atone for? Yeah, atone for what we call here Hurei Avera. Bad thoughts, sinful thoughts. That's what it came to atone for. Right, if you want to say the Kohanim had sinful thoughts, right? Well, what's the point over here? If they have money and they're being taken care of, what are they lacking? So sometimes you have even great people. It's very hard to understand. A lot of these things are hard to understand, but try and bring it down to this world. Person may think they're not gaining over here, they're losing. They're losing something. What do secular Jews say? Why would anyone choose this lifestyle? To be an Orthodox Jew. I'll say better. Why would a non-Jew want to convert? Yeah, and if you don't want to convert, that's fine. Not interested in converts, fine. Right? But why would someone uproot their life? Take a lot of people off. Someone's asked me, in my process, when I was in college, somebody asked, do you really believe in all this? I went to my parents' synagogue many years ago. So, they asked me, do you really believe this? All this stuff. So my answer was, well, you think I would have ticked off so many people if I didn't? Kind of a silly thing. Why are you going to change your whole lifestyle? And people are going to say, come on, you're a fanatic, you're this. You're not even keeping it right. You're doing, you're there, you pick and choose. Whatever the complaints are. Yeah, that's a hard thing. So it weakens a person's resolve. Maybe. When people say things and they act in a certain way. But in the end, what's going on over here? What are we missing? They're going to say you're missing life. You're missing everything in life. You're missing the Final Four. You're missing the beginning of baseball. You're missing the end of basketball. You're missing, the great movies came out, whatever. What you're missing? I think anybody listening, you can say, well, don't I have better things to do than listen to me? Sure. Probably. Yeah. Why are people here? Because they want to hear the truth. Because all this other stuff doesn't matter. It's background noise. Right? As Ramchal says in Path of the Just. Right? What are we here for? To struggle. To toil. It's not supposed to be easy. Life is not about what's supposed to be easy. Like you say, I've turned things around, and as a secular Jew, reconnecting to that heritage. That heritage is more than 3,000 years. Reconnecting, 3,500 years. Reconnecting. Other people coming out of paganism, Christianity, whatever, they want the truth. And the rest of the world says, what are you off your cotton picking head? Come on. It's not normal. Be normal over here. Do what everyone else does. You go to parties, you do this, eventually maybe someone get married, maybe not today. Right? A lot of people not getting married today. Right? Maybe, you do that. Maybe you have a couple kids, maybe you have a dog. a vacation house or something, or whatever it is, at the ripe old age, decide to retire, see the world if you can, if you're still healthy, and then you die. So I remember thinking this, for a long time. I thought that's what life was. You got to do good in high school to go to a good college. You got to do good in college so you can get a good job, right? Yeah, maybe get married, have a couple of kids, all this. Well, it's kind of a morbid way to look at the world. But that's the way I looked at the world. And I started thinking, what happens if your name is Rockefeller? You start at the top. Plenty of money, right? Got no worries. You hit the top of the charts. I still need to go to college. Still need to do other things. Yeah, because if you don't, what are you going to do? What are you going to do all day? A person wastes their life. But it bothered me. This whole thing bothered me. And being in higher education, in an Ivy League school, you think, oh, these people are so great. And then, no, they're just doing the same stupid things they did in high school. Just maybe they're a little more intelligent. Right? I hit a crossroads, major crossroads. And the crossroads were either, there's something wrong with me, which there very well could be. There's something wrong there. Maybe I have to see a psychologist or a psychiatrist or whatever. Or the whole rest of the world is cracked. That was my conclusion. My early 20s. I was like, this doesn't add up. Finally, when I learned Torah, and I saw what Torah was, made perfect sense. Answered all my questions, most of my questions. Because it's like the parable someone gave, or the great rabbi once gives this parable. It's like a person being on a boat. They're on a sailboat. No motor. If you're on a sailboat, no motor, what happens? Sailboat goes where? Nowhere. Right? Meaning, if you I goofed that up. Yeah, you took the rudder and you threw it overboard. Now, once you take the rudder and throw it overboard, what are you subjected to? The wind. Wherever the wind's going to take you. Yeah, you're not in control. Yeah, why did I get on to this? Because this sacrifice, this burnt offering is all about sinful thoughts. Where do sinful thoughts come from? Where do bad thoughts come from? They come from the mind? Yeah, partially. Right? Because you're thinking certain things. But where does it really where does it come from? It comes from the heart. The heart's in control of everything. We say in the Shema, don't go after my eyes or my heart. The eyes see, the heart covets is brought down. The heart desires, the heart wants. Plenty of things that it shouldn't have, or that's not good for it. People say, what are you worried about? You have your own moral compass. You do what you want, this and that. Life goes on. But I don't know what the Torah wants. So the Gemara says, Hiruri Avera, sinful thoughts. That's why you need this. You need to bring this burnt offering. Something that doesn't go anywhere else. No parts go anywhere else. The entire animal goes on the altar, totally burnt. The person will say, I live in this world. And this applies equally to men as well as to women. We say in the Shema, don't go after your hearts or after your eyes, after your hearts. Right, so some people will say, okay, I got an obligation to say the Shema twice a day, because within the Shema it says, I say it when I rise up in the morning, when I go to sleep at night. So I have an obligation to say it twice. Right, at least the Karaites, will be happy. So, okay, I have to repeat it twice. But think about it. People, I mentioned this before. I mentioned this last week. People say, but I say the same prayers over and over. Why can't I say my own prayers? You can, certain places. And even outside of fixed prayer. You can say as many prayers as you want. But what's the point over here? You can say, I said this yesterday. I said the Shema yesterday. I said the day before. But each day is a different day. Each day has different needs. I may have similar needs. But they change. Why do they change? Because my day-to-day status changes. Got all kinds of things facing us. Day in and day out, new challenges or old challenges that came up. So every day we say, twice a day, don't let me go astray after my heart. Now think about it. Before you make that statement, before you say it, before you pray, think where you were before. Even the prayer service before. Where was I? What did I do? What did I accomplish? What didn't I accomplish? Yeah, this is something pretty crucial. Because we say, I'm saying the same thing over and over again. Yeah, because you don't get it. It's not just saying monotonous words. Because when you say the Shema, okay, the Shema is pretty significant. We say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Even good for non-Jews to say on a daily basis. So what are we doing? We're taking on the yoke of heaven. We understand God runs the world. God is unique. God is one. Right? There are other gods but him. And then we say, you have to have Hashem Elokeinu. To love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, with all your might, blah, blah, blah. That's taking on what? That's taking on the yoke of mitzvahs. Take on the yoke of heaven, declaring God's oneness, his uniqueness in the world. And then I'm taking on the mitzvahs. And then it says that word tefillin, put frontlets between my eyes, put a mezuzah on the door. And then what's the second paragraph tell me? It's all about reward and punishment. I do the right thing, there'll be water, there'll be rain, everything's good. Right? We'll have food, no problem. You do the wrong thing, you're in trouble. It's reward and punishment. Right? It's certainly one of the 13 principles of the Rambam, of Maimonides. God rewards and punishes. Then you get the third paragraph. What does the third paragraph tell me? Tells me about the mitzvah sitzes. Yeah. Also tells me about the coming out of Egypt. And it tells me don't go after your heart or your eyes. Yeah, that's part of the third paragraph. That's part of the third paragraph over here. Now, when I say that, do I have to have Kabbalistic intention? No. I'm not talking about Kabbalistic intention. Think about what I'm doing. Think about what I'm saying. And think about, and you can do this. You can do this by realizing, okay, I prayed before. I prayed the morning service, so to speak. Now I'm praying at night. Right? If you're a guy, you got an obligation to pray at night. If you're a Jew, it doesn't apply to women because it's really optional. When we took it on as something obligatory. So for women, for sure, they don't have an obligation. They can say it. I'm not saying not. They can certainly say it. But think, you're going to say, why do I have to repeat this? First of all, you got to remember, God's one in the world. God runs the world. He's in charge. I got an obligation to keep mitzvahs as a Jew or as a non-Jew. Doesn't matter. Even by no, I lost. Plenty of mitzvahs to keep. Plenty of things to do. Right? Even if a person doesn't convert. Yeah. So what do I have? I should be thinking, yeah, I got to watch my eyes and I have to watch my heart. When a person says that, and they say it again, and they say it a second time, right? They say it twice a day. And they say, some people say it at night also before they go to sleep. Think about what that means. The more you say it, the more you think it, the more it becomes part of you. It's easy. It's better to say it because then it has an influence. Just because I think it, doesn't do the same thing. You have to verbalize it. That's why we have to verbalize prayer. Not enough just to think certain things. Because when you verbalize it, you hear it. When you hear it, it has an effect. Right? So comes along the sacrifice. This sacrifice totally burns. The sacrifice is totally burnt. then what's it coming to atone for? Thoughts, sinful thoughts. So my obligation is I got to work on them. Got to work on what I see or what I shouldn't see, right? You have to work on training our minds to want to do the right thing, to want to go on the right path, and to make sure I don't stray off. So when a person says it, you think, oh, I'm saying the same thing over and over again. Yeah, but what's the point? So the point is you take it from your mind, you open your lip, you put it in your heart. Then you put it in your heart again. And you say it again. Person shouldn't space out when they say it. We do. We might. Okay. Doesn't mean we don't have to work on prayer. But a lot of these prayers thing, it's the heart of who we are. It's the heart of what we have to do. What our obligation is between man and God. It's a hard thing. I agree. Saying these things over and over again. But there are certain things that are so crucial, that are so absolutely crucial, that it has an effect when we say, but you got to think. I'm not saying you're meditating on this for 20 minutes and then you fall way behind in the service. You can't do that. Right? That you can't do. On the other hand, you can't say it so fast it doesn't resonate. Also true. Also very true. But when you say the words, you think a little bit as you're saying them. You think about, what does this mean? What does it represent? Because when I say it has an effect. We don't know. We don't even realize how far reaching the effect is. Person just saying, I'm saying the words. So people will say, I've heard people say, yeah, I talk to God all the time. Isn't that very good? Very good. They get caught up on this thing. We have to say the same thing over again. Again, we spoke about this last week, right? But this is the point. You have something over here that's so powerful. Saying it once a week, not enough. It has to be reinforced. Because as we're getting closer, to warmer weather, be outside more, people not necessarily dress the way they should. Right? Even women have this obligation to guard their eyes as well. Not just for men. Right? The Rambam says clear, both have the same obligation. You say for guys, it's a little bit different, it's more severe, okay, whatever. But women have the same obligation. So we have to be careful. Yeah, you go outside, you have to wear dark sunglasses. Can't see anything the way people dress. True. But how's the person going to work on that? You're outside. You're in an environment. A person works with other people. What are you going to do? Not the greatest, I wouldn't say, greatest, dress code comes to work in general. Some places are better than others, but still, there are a lot of things that a person, can have trouble with. But it's impossible. It's not impossible. What we have to do is train our brains. We have to, first of all, we have to understand why. I think it's pretty obvious. Doesn't really need explanation. But even if we understand why, guess what? Now we have to put in action. Now we have to work hard. So some people say it's hard enough to understand that it's a problem. Okay. Yeah, that's the first step. And sometimes things are easier to understand than others. Right? I'll give an example. You take the Orthodox community, you have separation between boys and girls at a very young age. In about 4 or 5. The person can say, well, I can understand when they're older, there should be separation. Yeah? That would make sense. And, statistically, it's been proven if you have co-ed schools, the aptitude, the tests are not as good if they're mixed. Proven. Separate schools, study better, no distractions, less distraction, let's say. That's been proven. Now, someone will come along and say, but at such a young age? Are we worried about something that happened with a 4 or 5-year-old? No. Boy and a girl playing together, we worried about anything? No. Right? We separated at a very young age. There's good reason. If you understand by an older age, all the more so, even at a younger age, you don't want to start these things. And that's it. I think that makes sense. Some people, they have a hard time wrapping their brain around it. Why there has to be separation. In prayer, the separation. Where did it start from? What's the source? Separation between men and women. The temple is based on Mikdash. The Gemara says, the men were on the bottom, the women were on top. They were separate. So you're going to say that makes sense. You want to look at women while you're praying. Women don't want to look at men while they're praying. They want to have their own connection. Very good. That makes sense. Makes more sense. Right? But there's a hang up sometimes where things may make less sense. Why do I have to listen to rabbis on this? And what's the problem? What's the main problem? People have to buy into the system. Someone wants to convert, they have to buy into the system. Someone who's going to become Orthodox has to buy into the system, right, as a Jew. Once a person buys into the system and they understand more or less how it works, there's a lot of information, I guarantee. There are questions that people would never ask. They would never ask in 100,000 years if they had other information. They're missing information. Now, I'm not saying it's a leap of faith. It's not a leap of faith, right? But a lot of questions go by the wayside when a person is given the whole picture. Yeah, but some people want the whole picture in one shot. By osmosis. Doesn't work. It's step by step. I'm not saying people can't ask questions. People can ask plenty of questions. Plenty of questions. Judaism's all about that. We don't have any issues with people asking questions. First of all, you have to be respectful. That's one thing. Yeah. Second thing is, you have to know how the written law and oral law work together. And you have to realize there's a ton of things in oral law that people don't know. They don't have a clue. Because if they did, many questions go by the wayside. Now, it could be, even with some of the answers, they'll say that answer doesn't resonate. I don't like that answer. Okay. The rabbis are 10 times greater than you'll ever be in 25,000 lifetimes. So who are you to say, I don't like their answer? And not only that, but it's not the only answer. In other words, rabbis can tell us to do something or not do something, and they give an answer, or they give a number of answers, but that's not the answer. In other words, they can give 3 answers, 4 answers, 5 answers, let's say, but they don't reveal everything. They don't have to reveal everything. All right, the question is, bottom line, you believe that God gave the Torah, I buy into the system. There are 2 Torahs. There's the written law, there's the commentary on written law, right? Not here to prove why you need oral law. That's pretty obvious, right? I think that's obvious. Where do people get bogged down? They get bogged down. They say, why do I have to listen to rabbis? Right? Why do I have to listen to them? I had enough time in the church. I don't want to listen to, church people talk and this and that. Why should I listen to men? I want to listen to God. Very good. Right? But you got to get that cracked mentality out of your head. Because no one's listening to God here. God's not speaking to you. Yeah. Yeah. Prophecy is something very specific. Prophets had to work that prophecy. I read this last week in Derech Hashem. Nobody has prophecy today except little children and imbeciles. Yeah. But it's the Christian idea. I prayed, God answered my prayers. Okay, that's not necessarily a contradiction. Person prayed, things went well, what they prayed for, very good. Does that mean you have prophecy? No. Not even close. Can God answer our prayers? Sure. Is God coming to us in dreams and telling us things? No. If you are, you're going to see a shrink. Right? That's not going to happen. God's not revealing himself to anybody. Right? The lowest form of prophecy today is what we call Ruach HaKodesh, divine inspiration. Yeah, there are individual people in the generation that have such a thing. Yeah, that's the lowest form of prophecy. And not only that, God's not revealing himself. And the person only gets prophecy when they're asleep, when they're in a trance. God's not answering them when they're awake. That's not prophecy. Right? It could be schizophrenia, I don't know. Could be being bipolar, but it has nothing to do with prophecy. Zero. Doesn't mean God doesn't answer our prayers. But even if God does, it's not prophecy. Right? I asked for this, God answered my prayer. Okay. Very good. Yeah. Does it happen? Sure it does. It can happen with anybody. Certainly can happen with anybody. We pray, God answers our prayers. We don't know why. We don't know why he answered. Could be any number of reasons. It could be the answer is no. Or I'll think about it. Or maybe. Yeah. But a person can't be misguided and think, I'm getting answered, based on my own merit and this and that. No, God answered because he answered. Nothing to do with prophecy. Right? And anybody can be answered. They pray hard enough, prayer never goes to waste. Sometimes again, God can say no. But if a person prays, they say, listen, I need to do this, I need to do that, please take care of it, please help me, this, that. And it happens. Is that prophecy? Not prophecy. Yeah, a person's prayers can be answered, true. Right? But, the idea over here is, stay a little bit on topic here. And as my Rebbe brought down, the atonement for a burnt offering, what does it come for? Thoughts. Bad thoughts. I'm going to say, well, I've had these thoughts, they come and go, this or that. It's hard to fight. Okay? Bad habits are hard to break. True? We're creatures of habits. We do things like this, do things like that. We eat at the same time, we go out at the same time. We're consistent in many things. Not haphazard, let's say. Even so. Person will say, but I've been doing this for so long, how do I stop? How do we stop? How do we stop negative behavior? How do we stop bad thoughts? How do we stop bad character traits? Does a person have to hit rock bottom until that happens? No. Doesn't have to be that way. It could be that way, but it doesn't have to be. If a person consistently does not learn Musar or ethics, they don't think they have to change. They think they're okay until someone calls them on something they do. Even if it's something minor. We're our own worst enemy over here. We do not want to admit we do anything wrong. Right? The Rambam and the laws of repentance. The Rambam says, what's the Torah obligation to repent? What am I supposed to say in confession? On Yom Kippur, according to the Torah, I have to say Chatanu, I sinned. I don't say anything else. I fulfill my obligation on a Torah level. I don't have to beat myself 100 times on Yom Kippur. All I have to do is say I've sinned. Right? Let's say between man and God, it's a little bit easier. Because then if I do that on Yom Kippur, I get atonement. Man to man's a different issue. Got to appease. I have to appease my fellow man if you did anything wrong. Right? Before Yom Kippur. Right? That I'm going to speak about tomorrow on the class on the book of Leviticus chapter 16. Be 9 o'clock Eastern time. So I'm going to speak a lot about that. Right? So why does the Rambam say that? don't want to lose myself in my own parable here. Why does the Rambam say that? The Rambam says that because the most important thing when it comes to repentance, when it comes to tshuva, is to say, I did something wrong. Now, why is that so hard for some people? Or a lot of people? Why is that so hard? It's so hard because we're going to justify what we did. Person will say, person will find out they're guilty in this case, or whatever case of speaking Lashon Hara, speaking badly against someone else when it's forbidden. Okay. What's the person going to claim? They're going to claim, well, everybody knows. So I didn't do anything wrong. But the Chofetz Chaim says there's the 7 things you got to do. You got to go through it before you say it, right? To make sure you don't transgress. It says even if you fill them, you still shouldn't do it because you don't know if you're fulfilling it right. But you say I'm justified. Everybody knows it, and it's true. Lashon Hara is not just about something that's a lie. Right? Lashon Hara can also be something that's true. So in such a case, a person will say, what do you want from me? This person has it coming. Not only that, everybody knows it. But let me ask, why is that justified? I'm talking about where it's forbidden. Why is it justified? Should never, ever, ever be justified. Just because the person said it. Just because they think they deserve it. So what? Maybe they do deserve it. I'm not denying that. Person did something wrong, something really bad. Okay. Maybe they do deserve it, but if I don't have a purpose in telling it, I can't exaggerate. I can't lie. I have to say exactly the way it was. I have to have a purpose in doing it. I can't just do it for nothing. Just because you want to vent. Again, someone's in therapy, they're allowed to say what's on their mind. Right? In this case, it's helping. It's going to help heal them. So they're allowed to say what this person did or that person did or whatever. That, wouldn't be in the category of Lashon Hara. But in general, could we be 100% justified what someone said or did? Sure. Justification is very easy. We do it all the time. All the time. We justify things. And it could be really bad. Grandpa's on a ventilator, and the doctor says, listen, he ain't coming out of this coma, and if he does, going to be brain dead. He might as well just pull the plug. Quality of life. Not going to have quality of life, even if he survives. Pull the plug in such a case, probably murder. Yeah, most likely it's murder. You're not going to say that's murder. Come on. Grandpa suffered enough. We can't let him suffer anymore. We're going to take him off. Or, as I know someone did, they cut the pacemaker on their father. So instead of dying in 6 hours, died in 2 hours. That's murder. You're hastening someone's murder. But they're not going to call it murder. They're going to justify it and say, no, that's mercy. That's mercy. So people can justify things as much as they want. Doesn't mean it's right. Right? 2 wrongs don't make a right over here. Doesn't give me the right to do whatever I want. And we live in a very skewed world. Someone was telling me today, this whole thing happened in Tennessee. It's tragedy in Tennessee. I didn't read that much about it. But the person was telling me, this person is transgender. You can't make a whole thing against transgenders and whatever. Yeah, murder is murder. There's no question about it. Murder. Who cares? They think they're a woman or a guy or vice versa. What difference does it make? They kill people. Care they're messed up in other ways. They can't figure out if they're male or female, the way God created them, or they don't like the way they were, or whatever the case is. We're not going to make a war against that. It has nothing to do with that. What does that have to do with anything? That person's a murderer. They don't care background and who they think they are and genders, and who cares? Guilty is guilty. Yeah, the ends don't justify the means. Doesn't give me a right to do what I want. There are laws governing this world. The age, state of the age dying. There's judgment. There's the judge. There's a true judge. Yeah, you can say it's mental illness. How's God going to judge that? Okay, that's a big topic. Yeah, it's a big topic. But as I was talking to this person, I was at a bris, a circumcision, waiting, for the baby to come and this and that. I was like, we're just saying, like, this world is just totally messed up, right? Which gets back to my other point, is that someone coming out of Christianity, paganism, or, coming back to Judaism as a secular Jew, you look at the world and you say, come on, this can't be the real world. There's so many things that don't make sense, that are hard to make sense out of. And life is not about being fair. We said this a lot. But things are crazy. They're absolute nuts. I'll give an example of what happened here last week. There was a protest. Got all these protests. In the country. Again, I'm not really going to get into politics, but protests against proposed legislation to stop the corruption, corruption of the Supreme Court, which everyone agrees, right and left, both agree it needs to be done. Question is how far to take it. But even if they go as far as they want to go, that's not a theocracy. It's what other countries do anyway. There's limits what the Supreme Court can do. They can't just uproot everything that Congress or the Knesset here wants to do. They don't have a right to do that. Stick their nose where it doesn't belong. But anyway, it's not the point. What happened? There was a protest in Tel Aviv. And there was another Orthodox family driving by. They didn't know there was a protest or whatever. And the guy almost got lynched. Husband and wife. Guy almost got lynched. They're going to sit and let this guy bleed to death. They beat him to a pulp. Like he had anything to do with anything. Wrong place, wrong time, so to speak. Beat this person to a pulp. One guy said, he can't let this guy bleed to death. He got taken to the hospital. Someone took him out. And he got to the hospital. They beat him. Now imagine, I was saying, imagine if this was reversed. Imagine if this was a right-wing protest. And a left-wing person came in, they went driving by and they saw, one of these flags in their car. And they ripped the person out of the car. They beat him to an inch of his life. What do you think would happen in this country? What do you think would happen in America if it happened? That any right-wing person, did such a thing? Well, what would happen? Come on. They crashed down on them like no tomorrow. Here there'd be nothing to talk about. There'd be a whole thing against the right wing and putting people in jail and all kinds of things. Probably go house to house searching, who knows what. But the other way around, of course. They have a right to do that. Like a number of years ago, the left burns down most, a number of cities, justifying what's going on. Well, it gives them the right. We live in a crazy world. We live in a very crazy world. Now, what does Torah mitzvahs do? Torah mitzvahs gives me a perspective. They give me a perspective of what we're supposed to do, what our obligation is. They're going to say, but look at all the craziness in the world. Can I worry about the craziness in the world? Do I have to worry about the craziness in the world? I have to worry about what I need to do myself. I need to worry about things, protect my family, protect myself. Yeah, how are you going to do that? Right? How are you going to do it? As my Rebbe there says, how are you going to do it? How are you going to protect yourself against what? You're going to protect yourself against, bad thoughts or whatever. The only way to protect it, what's the antidote? Torah. Torah's the antidote. So the Gemara in Kedushin says, I have an evil inclination. That evil inclination's inside of us. So the evil inclination's inside of us. How do I fight it? I have an antidote. What's the antidote? Torah. But there's one big X factor. What's the one big X factor? The big X factor is God. God himself. Right? God himself is the X factor. Right? He's a total X factor. Right? Over here. Total X factor. Now, this is not There's not a simple thing over here. Why? Because the Gemara says you need God to help you overcome the evil inclination. Meaning, if God doesn't help me overcome the evil inclination, anything I do is not going to help. So you're going to say, what? Nothing I do is going to help? That's how powerful it is. That 100% is how powerful it is. We're cream puffs over here. We're subjected to so many things. It's been said that when we go to the store, we see more garbage than our grandparents saw in their lifetime. See more immorality, promiscuity, all kinds of things, cursing, language, than our grandparents saw in their lifetime. You're going to say, was it so much better then? A lot of things were hidden back then. A lot of things that come out to fruition. But what do we see? We see everything. Everything's instantaneous. I'm always fond of saying that for someone to stay an Orthodox Jew today, or even as a Noahide, it's a miracle because of everything that's out there. It's very, very hard. Right? So here, Mary points out that, that this sacrifice, this burnt offering, is there for the sake of atoning for bad thoughts. Now, bad thoughts, you're going to say, take your whole lifetime to fight. Okay. But you have to have a plan. And how are you going to do that? So we'll take something easy. Right? What's something easy? Cursing. Most people, so in the secular world, they curse. More or less, doesn't matter. People curse. So someone wants to have sensitivity, and work on that. What's a good way to do it? So I would say take a half an hour of a day. Right? At this time, whatever it is, for 1.5 hours, I'm not going to curse no matter what. If you want to increase it after a certain amount of time, okay. But whatever happens during this time, I'm not going to curse. Right? Of course, then you're doing something and bang your hand, bang your leg, something else happens, right? All this is a good test. And a person's going to say, okay, after a certain amount of time, what's going to happen? You'll be more sensitive. Person takes an hour. They say during this hour, no matter what, again, can't be when you're sleeping. It's got to be really when you're awake. Sleeping doesn't help. Yeah. So when you're awake, you take an hour. They say this hour, whatever happens, I'm not going to curse. Or I'm not going to speak Lashon Hara. I'm not going to speak badly against someone else. No matter what happens. After a while, the person's going to have a sensitivity. And then once they build up that sensitivity, when they hear other people curse, they're going to say, oh, what a disgusting person. How can a person do that? How can a person say that? Defile their mouth, and what can the other person say? Come on, you're not any better. You were doing that last week, 2 weeks ago, but now you have a higher awareness. Right? In other words, you put it in your mind on a daily basis. I'm not going to curse. I'm not going to speak Lashon Hara. Right? During this time. Should be all day. You shouldn't be doing that. Okay. Right? Rome wasn't built in a day. You got to take it step by step. But guaranteed, when a person does this, even on a small scale, you'll see you have a higher sensitivity. But if you're, what's the problem? What's the main problem? They'll say, I work, I'm around other people that curse. Okay? Yeah. How do I get around that? That's not so easy. You hear people say things you don't want to hear. So you try and change the conversation, try and walk away, other things. Can't always do it. You cannot always do it. Because we're not in control. You're going to say, yeah, I've been working on myself for so long. And now, I work in environments, everybody curses, left and right. What am I supposed to do? Get a new job? No. Could you go somewhere else? Not going to be that much different. Say people don't curse. Everybody curses. Again, some more, some less, but everybody curses. Yeah. So if everybody curses, what am I supposed to do? And everybody speaks Lashon Hara. And if I don't say anything, they're going to look at me like I'm a fool. So comes along the Chofetz Chaim, in the laws of Lashon Hara, the Chofetz Chaim says, what? The Chofetz Chaim says, if you can't change the conversation, you can't leave. Right? Whatever you hear, you shouldn't believe. But at the same time, even if you don't say anything, they're going to think you're a fool. I don't think you're a fool. Better to be thought of being as a fool in this world than 2 minutes to be a fool in the eyes of God. That's worse. We're going to say it's hard, and people are going to say things. What do I care what people say? What do you care what people say? Someone will say, but it's hard not to. Okay. Maybe it is. So I was telling someone today. I was telling someone earlier that you got to look at someone who says something. If they hate Torah mitzvahs or whatever, they have a 25 IQ. They're like someone's mentally challenged. I'm not going to say retarded because people are going to go nuts. They're mentally challenged. Let's say someone slobbered over you. They pushed you. Whatever. You're going to get upset? No, the person is mentally challenged. So someone who's got a PhD at Pilot Higher and Deeper, or a Papa has dough, you're going to worry about what they say? They have a first grade Jewish education. I'm going to worry what they say? And they don't know anything? Someone's going to say, we mentioned this many times, someone's going to say, but it's painful. It's a family member, it's a brother, it's a parent, whoever. It's a child. And they say these things, and that's cruel and it's mean. Where are they coming from? They're coming from world-class Jewish education, Jewish philosophy. They've ever learned anything in their life? No. They ever studied philosophy? No. Right? Aristotle, Plato? No. Later philosophy, Kant, Kierkegaard? No. Make a big distinction in Jewish philosophy. The Rambam, Yehuda Levi? No. Have they ever read the Torah from cover to cover? No. But they saw the movie. Very good. Right? So don't claim I'm an atheist. No, if you never studied any of this stuff, you're an idiot. Am I going to take what they say seriously? I was telling someone, I'll give an example. I mentioned this before. Right? I was telling, I told the story before. I got locked in the bathroom. Right? I go up north for one day. Or in the morning, I got locked in the bathroom. So whatever. I ended up getting out. My schedule was the same. It just started off, really bad day, seemingly. But, I was telling someone the story, whatever, at the end of the conversation. And I said, yeah. Someone said, well, why didn't you pray? I said, I couldn't. I was in the bathroom. You can't pray in the bathroom. Yeah. So this person, to get under my skin, is like, oh, is that one of the rules? You know what I answered? Yeah, one of the rules. That was it. You're going to let them get under my skin? Yeah, was that one of the rules? Yeah, I did explain, a little bit, even if there's nothing in the toilet bowl, whatever, it's so disgusting place, you can't think Torah. I was very quick because I knew I only had like 3 seconds. And that was it. I'm going to let it get under my skin? No, it gives me more fuel to the fire. I can vent it out over here. The person's an idiot. Total idiot. What are they trying to do? Get you angry. Why should I get angry? Yeah, where are they coming from? They're coming from no knowledge. They're coming from a place, of a 5-year-old. Okay, it can be annoying, There's no question. Can totally be annoying, okay? So what? Why? Why am I going to worry about they're annoying? So they're annoying. Move on. But people get caught up in this idea that, oh, it's a sibling, it's a parent, it's a cousin, it's an aunt, it's, a colleague, it's my boss, whatever, and yeah, it's annoying. Okay? 100% annoying. Yeah. And if you answer them, they just say more things. Okay. So who says I have to answer them? You give a quick answer, they don't like it, or whatever. Or you just say, that's what I do. Finished. Or they make fun of you. Again, better to look stupid in this world They look stupid in the eyes of God. But you're going to say that's a hard thing to do. Okay, I'm not disagreeing. Not disagree. So what? You take a lot of lumps, but and you don't say anything. I'll say even better. The Gemara says, if you get embarrassed in public and you don't say anything, you have the ability at that time to give blessings. And those blessings will come to fruition. They'll come to fruition, the Gemara says. Why? Why should that be? We're not looking for this, but why should that be? Yeah. What happens? What happens when a person gets embarrassed? It's akin to murder. It's like the person turns white, then they turn red. Anyone's been embarrassed, they understand. They'd rather hide, go hide in a cave under a rock somewhere. Right? The Rabbeinu Yonah said, you embarrass someone in public, you use your portion of the world to come. It's worse than murder. Yeah. Others hold there's a difference of opinion whether a person murdered someone, they lose their portion of the world to come. Murder itself, but to say an offshoot of murder, which really isn't murder, even if it's somewhat similar in a certain way, Rabbeinu Yonah said you lose your portion of the world to come. Big chiddush, big novelty over here. Huge novelty. But what happens? What happens in this case? Someone embarrasses you. Someone embarrasses you over here. There's no reason to embarrass you. They embarrass you, a lot of people are laughing. Yeah? You take it in stride. I'm not going to say it's going to be easy. No question. Right? Take it in stride, you move on. You move on. But you don't say anything. You don't say anything. Yeah? At that point, when it seems like everything's coming crashing down on your heads, and you don't say anything, and you have the resolve not to say anything, God looks at that as such a huge thing that you have a right to scream out. Say, what are you doing? What are you saying? Right? How can you say such a thing? Do such a thing? Right? You might have a right to say something, but the more you say, the worse it's going to be. Yeah? So what do? You don't say anything. You have this resolve. I'm not going to say anything. Just let them talk and whatever. Doesn't matter. I'm going to be like Teflon. So I'm going to go big. Going to knock it off. Like Teflon. Now, I'm not saying this is an easy thing to do. But the Gemara says if you can withhold that. If you can withstand that. And not say anything. The heavens right now are open. Wide open. And you have ability to give blessings to others, and those blessings will come to fruition. Why? Because you've been put in such a situation, almost an unbearable situation, and you didn't say anything. You didn't answer. Be at a much higher level if you didn't even think anything bad about it. But you didn't answer when you could have. So God looks at it and says, wow. That's such an unbelievable amount of restraint. I'm going to give whatever he says, I'm going to give it to him. For himself, for others, whatever it is. It's a huge, huge thing. Now, a person in such situations, it may crumble. It might be too hard. Again, no one wants to be in such a situation. Someone embarrasses someone in public, you lose your portion of the world to come. But imagine if a person, goes through that and just deflects and deflects and deflects, and they don't say anything. Imagine if they didn't think anything bad. That'd be even a higher level. But let's say in this case, they don't say anything bad at all. God looks at it like the greatest thing a person could ever do. And at that point, the heavens are wide open. That person can dispense blessings, a dime a dozen, and whatever those blessings are they give, right? They should be fulfilled. It's an unbelievable thing. So you might ask, how many people can do that? How many people are totally in control? Okay. Yeah, probably doesn't happen all that often. But what are we talking about over here? Controlling thoughts. Changing our mindsets. When we've done so many things in this world, it's hard to change anything. The way we speak, the way we react to different things, many, many things. Seems like totally unbearable. I could change. Again, I gave two examples. Lashon hara, cursing. Those things, cursing's easier. That we have the ability to potentially change. Because everybody would admit, I don't take a survey on this, but I think it's true. Everybody would admit, would you curse in front of your kids? Is it a good thing? Let's say better. Is it a good thing to curse in front of your kids? Now, they might say, depends on the age. A little kid, 4 or 5-year-old. I think most people would say, could be wrong in this generation, right? But I would venture to say, we are recording here, I would venture to say they would say it's not a good thing. They would say it's not a good thing to curse. Yeah, probably most people would say that. Yeah, so why do they curse? So they can understand it's not a good thing to do. Probably. Even if there aren't kids around, it's a good thing to curse? I would think people would say no. Probably not a good thing to say. So we can understand. We can potentially understand, cursing's a bad thing. So I can think it in my mind. I can go over and over and over again. When a person does that, you have a higher sensitivity. When you have a higher sensitivity, different world. When a person, works on controlling what they see, which other things are very tempting to see, okay. When they have a higher sensitivity, it's a different world. Someone's going to say, but you're out and about doing things in the summertime. People are, for lack of a better term, they're not wearing so many clothes. They say, how can someone stay, control themselves, so to speak? You say you got to control yourself. You got to control what you look at. True? Yeah, but something you need to work on. You don't want to test yourself, but something you have to have sensitivity to. And the problem is, many people don't have sensitivity to nothing. There's no sensitivity. They don't care what they say. You get offended. You're too, what's the word? You're too sensitive. Why are you getting so upset? Or they'll say, I was only kidding. I was only joking. Don't worry about it. Get them out of that way. We got to be careful. The Torah and mitzvahs are not about what not just what I can't do. Or people think there's so many laws, it's impossible. It's not impossible. You got to work hard. Life is about working hard. God never commands anything that's impossible to do. That wouldn't be fair. He's going to say, okay, I'm going to give you this command. I don't want you to do X, Y, or Z. But say it's so impossible, I can't. Okay, you're going to get punished. That's fair? Why is that fair? You'll say, God gave us tremendous urges for certain things. How do I get punished for that? He gave it to me. Okay. We're wired a certain way. Okay. Does that mean I have to act on it? Does that mean I should act on it? I have to work. Even if it's part of me. Person get upstairs after 120 years, God say, why did you do this, do that? I said, you wired me that way. Let's say it's true. Right? I'll be nice and lenient over here. Let's say it's true. God says, I wired you that way. Okay. So now you're at a disadvantage. You're at a disadvantage. So if you're at a disadvantage, but you act on what you shouldn't act on, what's God going to say? Right? If I were playing God, put on my funny glasses, my funny George Burns mustache, what would I say? I say, you're right, I gave it to you. I didn't tell you to act on it. I didn't tell you to do it. Please say I'm at a disadvantage. We're all at a disadvantage. We'll have, we're all wired in a certain way, and sometimes we did it to ourselves. So we're all at a certain disadvantage. Okay. And then we did to ourselves worse. They got no one to blame. Don't have ourselves to blame. But if only God wired us a certain way, you're going to say, okay, that's part of my psyche now. That's part of myself. So how do I fight it? It's inside. Right. It's much harder. Adam Marisha, first man, had a great idea. He says, if I take evil and I put it inside of us, every time I do the right thing, my body, my soul exponentially goes up. Sanctifies. True. But every time you do the wrong thing, what happens? You debase the body, you debase the soul. Also true. Right? So what did God say? God says you're a heretic. What do you mean? Adam says, I'm the greatest of all creation. How can you call me a heretic? How can you call me a heretic? Because God said, I agree with what you said. That, if you put evil inside of yourself, it's got good and bad. You overcome it, you go way up. You don't overcome it, you go way down. That's true. God says, I agree, 100%. One problem. One major problem, God says. I create the world for that. I didn't want you to do that. Gave him free choice. 100%, he gave him free choice. And he made such a major mistake, even though God said, you're right. He made a major mistake. He brought death to the world. Death, not a Jewish concept. Death never should have been. Then, doesn't God know that was going to be? Oh, we had this discussion at my Shabbos table today. If God knows the future, how could God have remorse or regret of anything he does? Good question. Right? What does the Torah tell me? The Torah tells me by the flood, God had regret creating man. Because man's thoughts are evil from the beginning. Commentaries ask, what are you talking about? God knows the future. God knows the past. He knows what's going to be. How does he have regret? God never has regret. Impossible. That's saying God makes mistakes. God is limited. Not true. Right? Totally not true. So what's the answer? Rashi says, I think it was Rabbi Kiva to Tornus Rufus, or Tornus Rufus to Rabbi Kiva. Now, Tornus Rufus asked this question. So Rabbi Kiva says, okay, let me ask you, did you ever have a child? He said, yeah. So what'd you do when you had a child? He said, I made a big party. Give out Cuban cigars. Give out Cuban cigars. Yeah, very fancy cigars. Big celebration. Rabbi Kiva says, great. But don't you realize that child is eventually going to grow up and die? So what do you do about that? So he said, if that would happen, God forbid, I'll be sad. In other words, I'm happy that he was born, or she is born. I'll be sad when they die. So Rabbi Kiva said the same thing about God. God understood man has this great ability, this great potential. When they do the right thing, I'll be happy. They're going in the right path, they're doing what I say. Very good. And if they go in the wrong path, I can be sad. Right? That was the answer. God knows past, present, future. True. Can't have regret or remorse in general. That means he's lacking, he makes a mistake. No. God is perfect. God doesn't make mistakes. God has no lacking. You got no lacking at all. But over here, okay. Just like when the Egyptians are drowning, the angels want to sing. The Gemara says the angels want to praise God. Says you can't. Why not? Because my creation is drowning. How can you sing praises? How can you sing my praises? What's the problem? What's the problem with that statement? Huge problem. Look what the Egyptians did. Egyptians caused 80% of the Jewish people not to come out of Egypt. Like about 8-9 million people or more. They went beyond what they should have done. Then they deserve to die? Oh, yeah. God punished them silly. Yeah. But God at the same time can say it's still my creation. I have to punish. This is what I have to do. I don't want to have to do it, but okay, I'll do it. So who are we to say in general? I want to sing your praises, downfall of our enemies. So there's no question, there's a contradiction. Different places. One place says you're allowed to sing the praises, God's praises when they die, when our enemies die. Another place says no. Right? It could be, it depends which nation, other things, but in general, God takes care of our enemies. We should be, jumping up and down. We should be singing his praises. Right? The Egyptians, hard to understand. I made a video of this on my YouTube channel, Beyond Orthodox Conversion in Judaism. Why do the Egyptians deserve to be buried? The Torah says that, the water covered them, they died, and they were spit back on the earth, on dry land. Why? Why not let the fish eat them? Kind of like Bin Laden, threw Bin Laden overboard. Right? The capture threw him overboard. Let the fish eat them. Who cares? They deserve to be punished. Everyone agrees. Yeah. So the Medrash. What does the Medrash say? The Medrash says that when they're chasing against the Jewish people, they can't see. God is confusing them. He takes away light from them. So the Egyptians said, their God's fighting against us. The Jewish God is fighting against us. They deserve to die. There was no question. Death sentence on them. Okay. Yeah. But because they made that statement, mind-boggling idea, they make that statement, and guess what happens? God says, because they recognize me, they recognize I'm the one in charge, I'm the one fighting this, they deserve to be buried. Now, all of us would ask this question. All of us would ask this question. What in the world are you talking about? We'd say, you're off your cotton picking head. What? I mean, it doesn't make sense. They deserve to die like Bin Laden. Throw them in the ocean. Let them drown. Let the fish eat them. They have a right to be buried? A right to be buried after what they did to the Jewish people? Oh, comes along and God says, they recognize me. They recognize I'm the one fighting against them. That was enough to merit for them to be buried. Mind-boggling idea. None of us in our right mind would have said such a thing. Never. We would have thought of 1,000 different ways for these people to die. Carve them up, take them off their kneel, whatever. Many, many ways to make sure they got punished. Nothing to talk about. Yeah, they recognize me, God says. They recognize I'm fighting against them. Oh, that's unbelievable. I'm going to allow them to be buried. A lot of sense it doesn't make. Just because they recognize God, so what? Last minute, is that repentance? Not repentance. Not saying we're sorry for what we did. They just acknowledge God's the one in charge. Took them a long time to acknowledge that, and they get demolished. Okay, the whole country got demolished. Fine. But they had a higher recognition. By having a higher recognition, unbelievable. Unbelievable. Through that higher recognition, they're able to be buried. So now we'll bring that down a little bit to this world. Person's going to say, and it's brought down in Nefesh HaChaim, literally the soul of life, written by Rav Chaim of Volozhin, famous Rav Chaim of Volozhin, student of the Vilna Gaon more than 250 years ago. And one of the first things he brings down there is the person thinks what they do doesn't matter. That my actions are irrelevant. Right? You might think we're an infinitesimally small speck of cosmic dust. Grew up in a town, in a city, in a state, in a country, a continent, on a planet, galaxy, much smaller. Much smaller. So they think, what I do doesn't matter. Yeah? So it brings down from Adam Arisha. From the first man, look what he did. Ate from the tree of knowledge. According to Kabbalah, he says that the tree of knowledge had all the spiritual worlds in it. Each one attached to the other, the top one attached to God's heavenly throne, whatever that means. Totally dispersed, totally messed up. All these spiritual worlds. How do we fix them? By doing mitzvahs, by keeping God's Torah. But not only that, forget about Kabbalah, brought that to the world. we mentioned, should never have happened. And part of Adam's atonement is when a person dies, that's the first person they see. They see Adam, they tell him, oh, because of you this happened, I have to go through death, and he nods, that's part of his atonement for eternity. A mind-boggling idea. One event. Well, so we don't see necessarily the repercussions of what we do. Not that sometimes things are more obvious. A lot of times we don't see anything. We don't see anything. We don't fathom it at all. Yeah. So there are a lot of things. There are a lot of things based on what I say. Based on what I do, have repercussions. Torah says clear, there are repercussions many times. You do this will happen. Do that, this will happen. There are repercussions. We have free choice. Torah says a number of times as well. We have free choice. Yeah, but you're going to pay a price if you make the wrong choice. Yeah. You're going to pay a price. You may pay a serious price. For what we do. So there are two things that we have to understand. Right? As my Rebbe said, the sacrifice, the burnt offering, atones for bad thoughts. Right? So there are two things here. Judaism, 100% is about action. It's about what I do. It's 100% about what I do. At the same time, there's something to be said for what I think. Even though you tell me the words of my heart don't mean anything, can't be punished by thoughts, certain things you can be. Immorality, even if I don't even act on it, can be punished for that. Yeah. Idolatry. Even if I don't act on it, a person thinks, sure, a fat guy, fatso, Mr. Buddha himself is my God, they're in trouble. If they think it, if they act on it, they bow to him or sacrifice to him or wine libation or whatever, they're in trouble, right? That's idolatry. But if they think it, there are two things. Idolatry and immorality. That a person can be punished for their thoughts even if they don't do anything. Even if they don't act on it. Yeah. So our thoughts are important. And our actions are important. Right? Maybe you say actions more important. Right? Because I'll give an example. We mentioned about prayer being a hard thing, in general. So if our minds are somewhere else, but we say the words and we do what we're supposed to do, get a lot of credit. You get a lot of credit because you don't know how powerful the words are. The rabbis, the prophets, put these prayers together. We have no idea how powerful that is. Even if I don't necessarily know what I'm doing or what I'm saying. That's unbelievable power. Yeah, but people say, if I don't really understand it, why should I do it? Okay, you gotta take it in stride. Prayer is something always has to be worked on. Right? Victor Miller, just saw in this week's pamphlet, speaks about Passover, someone asked him about this. And he said, when it comes to Shemona Esrei, the first, put everything you can in the first blessing. If you have nothing left in the other blessings, okay. That's enough for this generation. He's saying we're on a very weak level. He said, I could spend here today, tomorrow, the next day, speaking about the importance of prayer, what the prayers mean and what they represent and what you should be doing. And, okay, it's something very weak. Right. Doesn't matter. You still keep saying them over and over and over. Right. But at different, I wanted to mention this earlier. Right. But some prayers stick out to us more than anything else. On a daily basis, it can be another prayer that we say that has, more of an influence than what we said the day before because of different things that we go through. Yeah. Remember the other day, I had some sort of epiphany, in a certain way, by looking at a certain, at a certain prayer, how God's in control and all the power and all the might and nature, like something just like sort of hit me, and something sort of hit me. Why? I can't answer. Right. But something like jarred it out. Does it happen all the time? No. But certain places sometimes have more of an effect than others. When we say the Shemona Esrei, certainly for a Jew or JIT, Jew in training, not necessarily apply to a Noahide, but they can, they can also say, certain things as well when it comes to, the Shemona Esrei silent meditation. We ask for our needs: health, livelihood, repentance, knowledge, spiritual needs, spiritual redemption, physical redemption. A lot of things. You're going to say, well, I say the same thing over. No. People are in different situations all the time. Sometimes financial is better, sometimes it's worse. Sometimes I need this to be taken care of. I mentioned last week, I had to go to the tax authority, and I went to the wrong place. I go to another place. It all worked out. It all worked out. I nodded, looked up to heaven, said, thank you very much. It all worked out, in the end. Yeah, but that might be stupid, when you're praying for that, because, there are certain places in this world you do not want to have them breathing down your neck, right? One of them is the tax authority. Yeah, you don't want them coming after you. So, okay, you do what you need to do. Whatever it is. I was very thankful. Okay, you got this bill to pay, whatever. Fine, but, all the paperwork, everything else got in. Everything got done. Right? So yeah, we pray for our needs. We definitely pray for our needs. But our needs change. They're not always the same. It's not always about money. I mean, sometimes it is. Could be about health. Could be about money. Could be both. Could be family. Could be kids. Could be, all kinds of things. All kinds of things. But the bottom line is I have this open dialogue. Yeah, I say the fixed prayers, and they have an effect that we can't even imagine. Yeah, but again, when someone says these prayers and you look at them, on a daily basis, certain things should jart out. Certain things should speak to us more than other days. Just higher awareness. I mentioned before about saying the Shema can have an unbelievable effect. A person says by the last paragraph, I have to watch my eyes and my heart. Like, think about it in your mind, my heart, my eyes, be careful, be careful. God, help me, overcome that. So I don't fall prey to that. That's a huge thing. It's a huge thing. Say, saying the words over it. Yeah, certain things have more power than I would say others do. But if we'd be more in tune, everything would, but we're not. That's why prayer always needs to be strengthened. Yeah. Someone here, all right, so I'll take some questions here. Someone here mentions that how can we be at a low level today if despite the higher and more availability to be against God and the Torah? Yeah, there's an interesting question because there are greater generations that bring the Messiah, right? How could this weak cream puff generation, as I would call it, or as a friend of mine would call it, how can it be we're going to bring the Messiah? We're at a much lower level, no question about it. We're at a much lower level. True? And there are a lot of forces out against us that make it very hard, if not almost impossible, to keep Torah mitzvahs. I mean, if we're living in Jewish communities, okay. But there, the factor of the street is huge. What goes on in the outside world is huge. And all the things that distract us. Right? So if we're on a lower level, right, and there's, don't think that, just in today's generation, people are against God and Torah. This has gone on since the beginning of time, that people have gone against God. The Rambam says, the beginning of the laws of idolatry. Where did idolatry start? By Enosh. They made a serious mistake, gave power to other things that don't have power. Yeah. There's also rebelling against one God. So this is not a new thing. Throughout the generations, there were different factors, different things taking us away from Torah and mitzvahs. Right? The 19th century, what was it about? It was about socialism, communism, democracy. Different things destroyed Jewish communities, not to mention anti-Semitism and all that as well. Been a tremendous fight against God, no question about it. No question about it. Yeah, every generation has. It's not, this is nothing new. You might say, oh, it's so much worse. I don't know. Go back to Greece. Go back to the Roman Empire. These were not bastions of morality, at all. Right? Greece was known for worship of the body, worship of desire. That's what the Greeks were known for. Yeah, you tell me there was Renaissance, and architecture and roads and education and all these things. Very good. That's what the Greeks, we live in that world. We live in that Greek world. Okay. I don't think it's good, right? But many things we do are because of them. Yeah, and the Greeks totally disappeared. But again, back in their day, and they were like the leaders of the world. So back in their day, what, you don't think they also, wanted to fight against God and, just worship in the body? It's not just this generation. You're right. There's a lot of hatred of God and Torah in this generation. No question. Right? That there's no question. We don't have any choice. When things go wrong, let's say like this, things go wrong. Who do we turn to? We have no one to turn to but God himself. That's who we turn to. Yeah. That's clear. One thing we learned from the Holocaust, again, I'm not giving answers for why the Holocaust happened. Yeah. But, bottom line is, what do we learn? What's one thing we learned from the Holocaust? You can never, ever, ever rely on man. Never. Right? Because man is fickle. You don't think, the American government understood what was going on. They understood. Boats came to the American shores. They sent them back. Americans did not want to get involved in the war. I'm not saying America has to get involved in every war, whatever. They didn't want to get involved. So what happened? They turned these boats back and they died. Right? Send them back to Europe to die. Now I get it. America does not want to enter the war. Why did they enter the war? Bombing the Pearl Harbor. Then they had no choice. They don't want to fight this madman. They don't want to lose men. They don't want to get involved. But they had no choice. Right? So, doesn't mean we don't have to put our best foot forward. Putting our best foot forward not a guarantee for success. But at the same time, the Holocaust reminds us, where was man? Right? People say, why did God kill 6 million people? He didn't. It takes a lot of people to kill 6 million people. Right? Who do we have? Who'd you have? You have the Germans, you had the Slovakians, you had the Czechs, you had, Hungarians, you had the Russians. I mean, it took a lot of people to kill. You have the Poles, can't forget the Poles. You got the Ukrainians, you got the Lithuanians. You got a lot of people that were hell-bent on killing Jews. So it's not a question where God was. The question was, where's people's morality? Right? You'll tell me it was a divine decree. You're right. But are these people guilty of murder? 100%. Don't put a gun to their head and told them to do this, we're going to kill you. Rather, the book, I forget who the author is, was I don't know if he's still the Harvard chair of Holocaust studies, wrote a book called Hitler's Willing Executioners. It's a 600-page book, probably kill somebody with it. It's a very thick book, showing beyond the shadow of a doubt evidence and more evidence and more evidence that people joined Hitler's group in the Third Reich because they believed it's the right thing to do. He didn't put guns to people's head. People say that's a big misnomer. Big misnomer. People joined because they believed it was right. It was the right thing to do. Yeah. Who were the first people to join the Third Reich? Academics, doctors, lawyers, intelligentsia. They're the ones who joined. Not the skinheads of today. These are the ones that joined. Because they understood this is the right thing to do. You'll say it's propaganda and this, and he's a great orator, and whatever. Yeah, but bottom line is that people weren't stupid. They weren't stupid, and it wasn't like if they didn't join, they're dead. It's not true. This book proved that beyond the shadow of a doubt that wasn't true. With all that being said, when we're in trouble, just like what happened in Shushan, the time of Esther, right? Esther went to plead before the king. Yeah. But what did they do before that? She said, I want everybody to fast, 3-day fast. Men, women, children, everybody fasted. Everybody prayed. Everybody learned to uproot the decree. When the Jewish people are in trouble, what do? We pray. We try and be better. We take on more things. That's our weapon. Right? So you're right. We choose to turn to God and Torah, not to man. Now that doesn't mean we don't have to put our best foot forward. There are times we have to do that. True. There's no question. But at the same time, the salvation only comes through God. It doesn't come through man. It might come through man, God intervening, allowing man to help or whatever, right? But that's not where it goes. It goes with my actions, learning Torah, saying Tehillim, saying Psalms and prayer. That's where it goes. That is our weapon. Someone there points out, it seems that those who had it easier, not to sin or reject it, we're at a lesser level. Listen, people can have, we have it so easy today. You go back, to before World War II. People were starving. People were starving. We're living in a lap of luxury. Everything we have easy. You know what it was like to do laundry before washing machines? Women go down the river and take a whole day. The whole thing to go and scrub and this and that. We have it so easy. Even people living in America, or other places that can practice religion freely. That's a huge thing. Why do you think most people left Europe? Why did they flee from Europe? Because they couldn't. They were persecuted all the time. Okay, anti-Semitism on the rise tremendously. It's true. People can, still practice their religion freely, at least at the moment. It's a huge thing. Yeah, so on a much lesser level, that is true. That is true. So what? Right? So what I'm saying is, even with all the people that hate Torah and they're fighting against Torah left and right, see what the New York Times is doing against ultra-Orthodox communities, trying to bury us and take away funding and different things because, our curriculum and whatever. Totally anti-Semitic things across the board. Nothing to talk about. Nothing to talk about. Yeah. So you're right. We're at a lesser level. So, being at a lesser level, whatever we keep today, within reason, God's going to say, wow, you get a lot more credit than in previous generations because you have it a lot easier. You're not being persecuted. No one's being persecuted in general. We got it 10 times easier. 10 times easier. Parents and way back. 10 times easier. Yeah. So what are we doing? We're destroying ourselves because it's so easy. We're wasting time when we could be learning, and having our minds turn to mush by watching things we shouldn't watch, by vegetating other things. That's what's happening. But on the flip side, because we're on such a low level, whatever we keep, it's looked at God's eyes at such a high level that it's not the high level that's going to bring the Messiah, just the opposite, right? That's kind of the irony, right? It's just the opposite. The fact we're on a low level, but we're keeping Torah mitzvahs and Jewish communities are growing, Orthodox communities are growing by leaps and bounds. That's a huge thing that we didn't see in previous generations. We have more people learning Torah than the time of the Second Temple. It's not the quality of Torah. I don't think there's any question. It's not the same level, but it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable what's going on. It's a miracle. The fact you can walk outside of your house, whatever's going on, right? And a person has the ability to tap in, even at a low level. Yeah. But the trials that we go through, every generation has them. This cream puff generation, it's, the trials are unbelievable. What they are. Just standing up to family, standing up to societal pressure is a huge thing. It's a huge thing. And if we're cream puffs and we cave in, okay, but, we're given that opportunity. Torah, if a person is not constantly steeped in Torah, that's what we're saying. If you're not constantly steeped in Torah and working on changing your mind and your thoughts and everything else, you're going to be in quicksand. You're going to be in the dirt. That's where you're going to be. Right? Your mind, what they say, your mind will be in the gutter. In the gutter. Your mind's going to be in the gutter. That's what it'll be. Why should it not be? Tell me why it shouldn't be. You're going to say you got to control your thoughts. You got to work on yourself. You can't be a pig. You're right. But look at what society has done. Look what sells on TV. Look what sells in movies. Look what sells in billboards. The mind is in the gutter. That's where it is. That's where it is. For better or for worse. So the fact that we're going to overcome that and we're working hard, that's huge compared to everybody else. That's unbelievably huge. So we should all pat ourselves on the back to a certain extent, say, look, well, a person can say to God, you're right. I'm not doing what I should do. I could be a lot better. That's true. But we could say, compared to what's going on out there, look what we're doing. Look at the mitzvahs that we're doing. Look at all the desires and all the crazy things that go out there. We're not part of it. It's huge. That is huge. And if a person can learn Torah and understand the Torah class, that's huge. Heard a great rabbi once say, the guy's learning Gemara and he understands the Tosafos, one of the commentaries, go have a chocolate bar, go eat an apple. I mean, probably chocolate bar is better. Go eat a chocolate bar. You should be whistling Dixie. I don't know how to do that, but you should be whistling Dixie and doing the moonwalk. I don't know if anyone does the moonwalk anymore. Doesn't matter. You should be walking on air. Walking on air, God's giving you an opportunity to tap in and you actually understand something that he's saying. Huge for this generation. Is that compared to how the great rabbis learned in generation, in 2,000 years ago? No. Is that even close? No. Is it close to rabbis 200 years ago? No. Okay. Yeah. But we can't beat ourselves down and say, wow, it's just a cream puff generation. I can do what I want. No. Got to work hard. Life is about working hard. It's about working hard. And there are a lot of things we do that are hard. It's just, that's the way it is. Passover cleaning is hard. Can't forget why we're doing it and what goes on and what it means, what it represents. We get caught up in doing so many things, we forget. But sometimes we also say, but the rabbis are telling me this, or the rabbis are telling me. Where's that written in the Torah? Yeah, where it's written in the Torah. There are a lot of things they derive from the Torah. Okay. Yeah. Most of the stuff we do is what the rabbis tell us. And sometimes because you do it. That's it. It's based on a verse. This is what they tell us to do. And that's it. So some people have difficulty, we mentioned before, wrapping their minds around that. You got to show a little bit of humble pie over here. And not only that, you got to realize there's 10,000 things you're missing in information. I'm not saying you can't ask the question. You can't ask, you're allowed to ask the question. You got to be humble when you ask the question. You got to be respectful when you ask the question. But if you're missing 10,000 pieces of information, you got to be patient. You got to see how the whole picture fits together. But guess what? We said Na'aseh v'nishma. We said we will do and then we will hear. Right? The Jewish people said, we're going to keep whatever you tell us to do and then you explain it later. So anyone coming in, that's it. You're not going to get all the explanations on one foot. Like someone said, well, what are these books for? What are those books for? I said, there's commentary upon commentary on what we learned. And we have to learn to the best of our ability to know what to do. But guess what? God said it, we do it. That's it. Na'aseh v'nishma. Person wants to convert, that's the mantra. Doesn't mean we say, oh, it's a leap of faith. It's not a leap of faith. Right? But certain things, sometimes someone will, ask a question, and I'll give an answer, but there's a lot of background information a person's missing. They're totally missing it. So, yeah, I can give a quick answer of something I know, but the person's going to say, but that doesn't resonate. You know why it doesn't resonate? Because you're missing a ton of information. A person has to eat a little bit of humble pie and say, okay, it's beyond me right now. That's what I have to do. But, could I explain it? Yeah, but there are 10 different factors you got to understand. And if you don't understand the other factors to get to this point, you're not going to understand why 100% or 80%. But you still have to do it. Right? Not 7 inches, but you still have to do it. So no, I had to have it a little bit easier. They have it a little bit easier. They have less laws. They also have to keep whatever they have to keep. And a lot of things no I have to do because of a moral imperative. Not obligated. Like cursing is a good example. Should no I curse? No. Is it universal? People curse. You're right. So they don't have to keep it. But isn't it a good thing not to curse? Or not to be immoral? I mean, immorality, you get the death penalty. It depends what it is. Right? Totally depends. Totally depends what it is. But at the same time, there are things that, let's say Lashon Hara doesn't apply to non-Jews. Should they not speak against other people and backbite and backstab? Sure. They have an obligation, no, but it makes them better people if they don't. Yeah, so there's a lot of things. Non-Jews say, oh, I can't do this, can't do that. I'm not a Jew and blah, blah, blah. You're right. But there are plenty of things to learn. How to think like what the Torah wants me to think and how I should learn. Right? Jewish philosophy. Non-Jews learn Musar? 100%. Can they learn ethics? Sure. Yeah, they want to be better people. Plenty of things to learn. Plenty of things to learn, but you don't learn things until you're ready. There's certain things that are also off limits. They're off limits. They're off limits. They're off limits. Yeah. And people don't like that either. Okay. Remember one thing, when you tap into the Jewish people, yeah, there are things you can't tap into that belong to us. Why should you be allowed, find it funny, non-Jews, putting things up, stuff about Kabbalah, some other things, whatever. You don't have a right, keeping Shabbos almost like a Jew, unless you're going to convert. You don't have a right. It's not yours. It's not you. You can tap into certain things, okay? Right? But why do you think you have the right to do it? It'd be like, I'll give an example. It'd be like, a non-Jew goes to synagogue, let's say. Guy goes to synagogue. Can he get an honor in the synagogue? No. They're going to call him to the Torah? Certainly not. Right? They're going to let him open the ark? No. They're going to let him lift the Torah? No. Till after conversion. Why? Right? So I would answer with a question. Right? Rabbis are good at that. Right? I'll answer with a question. And the question is, if I wanted to be a Christian, God forbid. But I'm not. I haven't gone through the process. No one's putting any water on me. I'm not dunking anywhere, whatever. Am I allowed to do the sacraments if I'm a Christian, if I'm not a Christian? No. Are there many things in the church service I couldn't do because I'm not part, I'm not part of them? No. Maybe some things you could. Okay. I guarantee if a person becomes a Muslim, if they don't become a Muslim and they start going and this and that, and they want certain honors, you're not going to get that. That's never going to happen. And that's not about discrimination. Really, it's not fair. Well, I don't care about being fair. You're coming to us. You're not Jewish. Why should you get what honors that Jews get? You're going to say, but that's, you're saying because the person's born a Jew. They are. And if you can't prove you're Jewish or you have to go through conversion, you're on the outside looking in. Doesn't mean you can't participate in other ways. Yeah. But why should you deserve honors that Jews get? Right? It's a question. It's a non-starter. You wouldn't ask that, by the Christians. You wouldn't ask that by the Muslims or by the Hindus. Right? Especially if it's something that has to do with holiness. Right? Could you call up a non-Jew? What's the blessing over the Torah? That you what do you call it? That you chose me from among the nations. I can't make that blessing. How would you call them up to the Torah? I would say they can't do that. Right? Other things are innocuous. Can a non-Jew touch a Sefer Torah? Yes. Can they touch a Torah scroll? Not a problem. Why? No impurity by a non-Jew. Yeah, what about a woman? Okay, a woman might be maybe a different issue. Right, at that time in the month, maybe she shouldn't touch the Sefer Torah. Others, may be lenient. Okay. That's not necessarily an issue per se. But why give an honor? You wouldn't do that in any other religion. Why would you say we should do it? Because you're lighting to the nations. So what? So what if we're lighting to the nations? It's because we're lighting to the nations doesn't mean we leave our minds open till our brains fall on the floor. That's not what it means. But I can understand, so someone may get offended. Okay. Yeah, but logically, and again, forget about emotion. Logically speaking, what would I say? No one other religion does that. Maybe certain things they'd be allowed to do. Maybe. Yeah, but things that have to do with holiness, they're not going to do because you're not part of them. You're not giving all yourself. There's no Mesiras Nefesh, no self-sacrifice over here. You're not part of them. So why should you get it? Why should you get an honor if you're not part of them? Any honor, I don't care what it is. Why? Why? That's going to encourage people. We got encouraging people. We don't care if anyone converts or not. We don't, it doesn't matter. You do, fine. You don't. No big deal. We're not looking for converts. Yeah, but you're not coming in saying, I want a part of this and I want a part of that. Okay, there are things you can do, the things you can't do. Na'aseh v'nishma. We will hear, then we will do. Right? And a person has to get certain things out of their minds. Yeah, someone says, as over here, it's almost like God is going to show more glory. Yeah, that's probably where the Messiah comes. God's total glory will come out then. In all his power and all his might. We see glory today, though. We see from, great rabbis and other people that represent God's Torah. You can see that. You can see the power of that. And no one has ever seen it. Okay, but God's glory like it was in the temple, that we're not going to see until the end of days. That we'll never see till the end of days. Yeah, but again, anyone who's able to keep Torah mitzvahs at any level in this generation is a miracle. Because the pull of the street is so great. Someone points out they saw that it's going to be a new law outlawing Christians targeting children. Halavai. No, it wasn't. It's not a full law here. Should be. There was a thing going on. We're here in Israel. I mean, it boggles the mind. You got Christians trying to missionize, and they're giving them tax benefits. Christian organizations that missionize are giving them tax benefits. Why? That's insane. So we have to bend over backwards to show how moral we are, right? So the Jewish state is going to allow these Christian people to be here. Okay. They'll allow a certain amount to be here, fine. Whatever it is, but you're going to give them tax benefits to allow them to missionize? That's insanity. That's insanity. Doesn't make any sense. It's someone asks, I hear a lot online. Others say we don't want converts, but there are a lot of those who have conversion programs. First of all, there are not so many. There are conversion programs, that's true. I'm saying that's what we offer. So someone comes and says, I want to convert, and they prove to be the real deal, and they go through this program, okay. Right? That's not a contradiction, right? We're not interested in converts. Are we pushing everyone away? No, we're not pushing everyone away. The ones that are not going to stick or are not good candidates, we'll push away. They're just saying, we're giving you an opportunity if you want to convert. They're not proselytizing. They're not looking for converts. They're saying this is what we do, just like what I do. Right? Like I asked my rabbi this once, can I advertise what I do? He said, because what you do isn't anything. I'm like, no, it's not nothing. He said, no, you don't convert people, right? If I can advertise what I do. Am I trying to convince people to convert? No. If they want to be a Noahide, they can also be a Noahide. No one says they can't. Someone asks me different things. I'm not going to try and convince someone one way or the other. If they want to convert, very good. If they want to convert, it's also good. We're not necessarily looking for converts. We want the real deal, right? But just because someone advertises what they do doesn't mean they're encouraging. I mean, I've heard people accuse me of that, but that's not proselytization. Not at all. Because you're right, we're not looking for converts. So why do you do what you do? I help people, right? I'm good at what I do. I give people the information that they need, whether for Noahide or for convert. Can I advertise for that? I could. Why not? I'm not trying to convince people. If they want to come, very good. I put out a number of years ago. I made a course called Discover Your Biblical Path. What is Discover Your Biblical Path about? It's about a person comes out of idolatry. They don't know which way to go, whether to convert, whether to be a Noahide. So I made a number of modules. Give a plug here for it. Made a number of modules. What it means to be a Jew. What it means to be a Noahide. The Jewish cycle, holidays, how to find a rabbi, how to find a community. And I had a number of interviews. People in the process of conversion finished the process, and people stayed as Noahides. I thought that would have gone viral. They didn't. Not sure exactly why. God didn't want it to go viral. Okay. I'm not saying it was so expensive. I tested different prices, different things. But I put that out there. And I put some bonuses in. People could speak to me for an hour. For a free consultation, which way to go. Or if they had any questions or whatever it is. Why'd I do that? Because there's a need. I thought, maybe mistakenly, that there was a need. Someone comes out of Christianity or paganism or wherever they come from. How do they know which path to take? Because there are only two paths. Either a person's going to convert or going to stay Noahide. Either way, right? Nothing in between. I would thought that was a great need. Well, didn't happen that way. But what does that course do? It gives the person a perspective. It gives them a perspective, of what's out there and what information, they need to make a decision. That's the perspective. Am I convincing people? No. I'll have a free consultation. People ask me different questions, this and that. That's not my job. My job is not to convince people. They want to go one way or the other. That's their choice. Am I going to discourage people from converting? I'm not going to discourage them. I'm going to tell them what they're up against. I'm going to tell them what the problems are, and everything they need to know to make a decision. Say the same thing about Noahide, the pros, the cons, different things. They can make their own decision. I'm not forcing people one way or another. I have a lot to offer in either case, right? That doesn't matter, right? But that's, again, just because that's being offered, and there are a lot of courses being offered, or some, anyway, I don't think it's a huge amount, but, even if there are courses offered, that's only for people who say, I want to convert, and I want to be the real deal if it's a legitimate course. Yeah. Okay. Are we looking for converts? No. But they have to know what they're up against. They have to know what the problems possibly are. The question. There's absolutely no question. So, that's not a contradiction. It's helping people get the information they need for them to make their decision, whatever that decision is. So again, that's not proselytization. That's giving people, that's making them into a vessel to be able to understand what the decision, to make their own decision. Because a lot of people that have no idea what's out there. What do you do if to come out of being a Christian or a pagan? They have no idea. There's some people who don't even know you're allowed to convert. Right? So that there's a lack of information. I mean, you do searches, this and that, but there's a lack of information. Right? So you're making people aware of what you do. That's not a problem. And if someone's interested in conversion, they see one of these programs, okay. They're not proselytizing. They're just saying this is what we do if you're interested. They're not like scouring the internet, finding people, and trying to tell them, oh, you should convert, take my program, this, that. I'm not doing that. People contact me, I contact them, different things. They hear about it, whatever, okay. Am I trying to convince? No. Everyone has free choice. Definitely everyone has free choice. Yeah, any other questions? All right, I see it's going to be a part 29 here next week, even though it's going to be Passover, shouldn't be an issue. Yeah, so I'm going to stop here. I just every Saturday, 2 o'clock Eastern time, 9 o'clock Israel time next week, probably about a half hour later, only because Shabbos comes out later here. Tomorrow, Book of Leviticus chapter 16 will be 9 o'clock Eastern time, 4 o'clock Israel time. And anyone? Yeah, go ahead.
I got a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is there any specific courses for a woman to take who is in conversion?
They have to learn basically the same as a man. It's just they have different obligations. Prayer they have to learn, kashrus they have to learn, Shabbos they have to learn, the holidays they have to learn. There are other things they may have to learn also that are separate. There's I don't know any separate. I know one separate program here. There's one separate program here for there are actually two programs here for for women in general. Online, I don't think they make any. I don't think any other programs. I don't think they make any distinction. I don't think they make any distinction. There are certain things. Let's say if a woman is married and she has to learn family purity laws, that's the difference. What she has to do for prayer and some other things that are not the same as a man. But everything else is the same. Kashrus is the same, Shabbos is the same, holidays are the same. Do they have separate programs? There are some. There are some out there. But that's what I would say. That's what I would say in short. Yeah. Any other questions? I don't think that necessarily answers the question, but you can ask. There are different programs out there that may cater to that. But again, 90% of what they're going to have to learn is the same as a man. That's not going to change. The only thing that'll change is prayer. They don't, they don't have an obligation to pray with 10 men, but they have to know how to pray and what they're obligated in. And the only other difference would be, obviously, they have different set of laws of modesty. That's true. Have to learn about that, and they'd have to learn, if they're going to get married or they are married, at some point they'd have to learn about family purity laws. That's the only difference. Everything else is pretty much the same. 13 principles of faith, all the holidays, blessing, Shabbos, it's all the same. Right, pretty much is all the same. Doesn't differ that much. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah. If anyone has any questions, find me on Facebook at Michael Chaim Kaufman, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism, or on YouTube, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism. Go on videos there, Torah portion of the week, conversion videos, ethics of our fathers, controversial issues. Otherwise, I'm going to sign out. Wish everyone a good beginning of the day, middle of the day, or almost end of the day for me.